Are you ready to start living a more confident, successful, and safe life, regardless of what's going on in the world or what has happened in your past? Then you're at the right place at the right time. The FemVincible podcast, where we bring you content and guests to help you focus on moving forward as the powerful you that you are truly meant to be. So welcome to FemVincible. Okay. Welcome back. Today is part 3 with Dr. Chelsea Adams, financial advisor, and I'm just really happy that she's here. Again, Chelsea, thanks for being here. I appreciate you so much for volunteering your time to show up for this.
Well, thank you. I'm really excited to be doing another one of these, and hopefully people find it useful.
Well, I don't think it'll be hopefully. I think it is no kidding useful. You know, there's so many people. I was actually talking to the lady that cut my hair. If you were wondering why I was even more handsome today than usual, it's because I got a haircut. Okay. But anyway, I was talking to her about this that you and I are doing. And her comment was to me was, yes, I lived that and had no idea that I was being financially manipulated for years and years and years. So I think it's probably something that a lot of women need to hear, and to know that it's a common thing, that they're not, it's something I reassured her that this isn't your fault. It doesn't mean that you're dumb or stupid or not smart that this happened to you. It's a manipulation that happens. So, you were putting your trust into a person in a relationship like we all would think is the right thing to do in a relationship. And they took advantage of it. So, yeah, I think a lot of people need to hear this. And, all of these are going to be available, in the FemVincible group. And I'm also going to put them on my YouTube page eventually. But it shouldn't be too long. But I want all of you listening or watching to, think of the women in your life, whether it's your daughters, your granddaughters, your sisters, your cousins, your BFFs, whatever it is, and share this with them, because it's one of those types of abuse that, I'm talking about financial abuse or economic abuse that is more insidious than being hit or something that leaves marks and scars. This is one of those under the radar types of abuse that a significant other will do. So,
And it's also one of the most common across, studies, across countries. They show that if women are in abusive relationships, almost 100% of them experience some form of financial or economic abuse. And like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, that can be withholding money, that could be destroying your credit, that could be stopping you from getting a job or getting you fired from your job. There's a lot of things, like you said, it's more insidious, it's underneath the surface, and people aren't immediately going to see it, and they might not ever see it. It's happening so subtly.
Yeah. So, please do, when you watch this or when you see it, whether it's live or the replay, please share it with your girlfriends, your family members. Let them see it. It may be the thing that gets them out of a situation that is abusive or is becoming abusive. And maybe they didn't even see it because, like we were saying earlier, this is one of the tricky ways to get a spouse under the thumb of an abusive spouse and to get control, because, you lose your rights to your money. That's not what your abusive spouse is going to call it. But when that happens, they have more control over you, over what you can go do, over who you can be with, over what you can order, over, do you still get to keep your cell phone because now they've, turned it off since they're in charge of all the dollars. There's so many things that can happen. And yeah, go ahead, Chelsea.
Oh, I was going to say, and speaking of that, you look at that, and depending on how severe that financial abuse is, by the time you're out of that situation, out of that abusive relationship, it can feel absolutely devastating, because where do you start? You could not have a home, not have a job, no access to money because your spouse or your significant other drained your accounts. Your credit could be bad and it's hard to get a line of credit or a loan, or, goodness gracious, a decent credit card. So you look at all of that and you might start to despair. So if that's you, if that's something that's going on in your life right now, one of the most important things you can do is know that there's help and there are options. And that, I think, is part of what we're going to talk about today, right, Cranford?
That's it. That's it. So part one was how to start yourself off, right out of high school, or while you're in high school, or, just after you left home for college or the military, whatever it is you're doing, how to begin taking care of yourself financially so that you have this insulation built around you, that you're taking care of financially through your own abilities, through your own work. And when you have that, it makes it harder for someone to abuse you financially, because you're aware of your money, you become smart about it. And something that Chelsea mentioned before is like, people come to her and go, how do I even start this? Financial planners are not just for the wealthy folks. They're not just for the Elon Musk. They're for all of us, and she can walk you through how to begin setting things up. So yeah, that first time that we talked was about what can you do to start off being financially capable in and of yourself. The second episode that we talked about, we didn't talk about the episode. We were actually there. We were in it. In our second episode, what we talked about was how to see what's going on to make you go, wait a minute, has this guy, or I mean, it's not always a guy, right? But is my significant other controlling my money? Have they put me, in a pin, so to speak, financially, so that they can control me? And so we talked about that. So be sure to go back and take a look at that. And we also talked a little bit about what to do to get out of that. And I think the key thing, Chelsea, remind me if I'm wrong here, if there's an extra thing here, but was to try to have some amount of money tucked away, whether, and this is also why it's important to do this before you're in a relationship. If I'm talking really fast, I had a really good cup of coffee. I made it this morning instead of my wife, so it was too strong. Anyway, but to have some money put away, just yours, and whether you keep it in a safety deposit box in your own savings account, but if somebody gets control of your savings account, you could lose it. So keep it at your parents' house, your sister's house, somewhere safe that you'll always have access to it. And of course, make sure that somebody that has it is somebody you trust fully, that will help you. So you have a way to get out. So you have money to call that Uber and go, come get me. I have to get away from this person. Or so that you can buy some clothes, because maybe you had to leave in a hurry and all you have is the clothes on your back. And if you've got, a couple of $100 or maybe a couple of thousand, which would be wonderful, tucked away, that's wonderful, so that you can get those things and get yourself started again. Now, today, what we're going to talk about is, so you may have found yourself in a situation and you got yourself out, and maybe your credit is wrecked. Maybe that person took your credit cards and canceled them, or even worse, took them, maxed them out, and didn't pay anything on them. So now your credit's poo-poo because they have all these, delinquent charges and everything. So today we're going to talk about some key things you can do now that you're out, that you can start rebuilding your financial blanket your insurance, not insurance, but ensuring that you're capable of taking care of yourself financially. And I know Chelsea's got a couple of other things that she's going to share with you that you should do as soon as you're out, because she has experience in this. I mean, not just from reading a book. I mean, she has lived experience in this. So Chelsea, let's get going with that. What are the things that a woman, or anybody, but we're going to say a woman, would do right out of the chute? She's got out of the house or wherever, and she's trying to start over. What does she need to do?
Well, I think there are a couple of things. And the first thing I'll say is that you need to take a deep breath and get yourself to where you feel safe or at least settled. And I know for some people that's, well, like, I am not sure I can afford food. Look for your local food bank. They're there to help you out. Shelters can help. There are domestic violence shelters if you don't have a place to go. If you do, and you've got all of your very basic needs met, right? Food, water, shelter, and, a way to access some transportation so that you can, start getting what you need. That's the very, very base. But looking ahead, we should be looking at assessing damage, right? Because you knew it was a bad situation, but do you know everything? We talked about in that second episode, making sure you've got your birth certificate, your social security number, all of those confidential, private, but very important documents. Without those, right, you can't get a job. They're usually requiring 2 forms of identification to run through HR, depending on where you're working. So having that's important, but check your credit report. If you didn't check your credit report before you left, assess that damage. Has, your credit score been ruined because your spouse, like you said, Cranford, or your significant other, maxed out credit cards in your name and you didn't realize? Your credit score will show that. And then using that credit report as a base, start seeing all of the credit that's in your name, what loans are there, what credit cards, how much debt has been taken out in your name. And then also taking,
just for a second.
Yeah.
In case you've never fooled with credit reporting, there's 3 different credit reporting agencies. And you're allowed every year to get a report from all 3 of them at no cost to you. And do you know one of the sites that gets you all 3? I think there's freecreditreport.com,
and I think Credit Karma does that.
Credit Karma. Yeah, so there's several places to do it. It's not hard to do. You just get online with them and you can see what has happened to your credit. How, like Chelsea was saying, how much has been charged? Are there any delinquent payments on it? Because if you've handed over the job of paying those bills to someone who's controlling or abusive, they may just not be paying them. And that will give you a whole lot of information. But yeah, if you get online, Google it, look up free credit reporting, you can find it. There's several ways to get there, but yeah, like I say, that's a free thing you can do every year, and you should do it every year.
Exactly.
Anyway, sorry about that, Chelsea. Go
Oh
ahead.
no, that's a great resource and great for people to know. And I think as part of that, right, once you've done that with your credit, you need to look at your bank account, bank statements, see the same thing. You need to go talk to somebody at the bank, either on the phone, online, in person. A lot of times I find I get better help in person. You don't have to wait on the phone, but right, getting a sense of, hey, I need some help making sure that, I know what went on from this period to this period, right, in your finances, in bank accounts. And then as you're doing that, make sure you've secured all your accounts. You need to look at every email address you have that is your email address, and you need to make sure that password's changed. You need to make sure every social media account that you have, all the passwords are changed, and the financial accounts. And why do we say that? Well, you know what? You can start scamming people or getting access to personal information, even purchasing things on social media nowadays through social media accounts. So if you don't secure your virtual life, essentially, all those things that we just think are very innocent, right? Who thinks about a social media account as a way to continue to financially abuse somebody? But they could even start posting uh, all sorts of explicit content on your site, and you're trying to get a job, and they're emailing your, potential employer that, all of this awful, awful content that makes it so you can't get hired. It's very important to cut off an abuser's ability to get at you online.
And if that means
So
deleting your account, starting brand new on your Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is you're on, do that, because that gives you a bit of a clean slate where if you are going to get that new job, because guess what? Employers now look at your social media when you're trying to get a job. If they see all this horrible stuff, you can already say, I've left a bad relationship. He's using my social media. I don't know what he's got on there. I can't get into it. Here's my new one, so that they're aware the stuff they're seeing is probably not yours. And something else I wanted to jump back to before I forget it. Chelsea's talking about going into the bank, stopping accounts, seeing what's going on, letting them know what's happening. If you're not familiar with going into banks and how they work, when you go into your bank, there's the normal line and you can go to all the tellers. That's not who you want to go see. When you look at the tellers, generally, if you look the other way, there's people sitting at desks. You want to go over there, and that's who you're going to want to speak to. And they'll go, can I help you? And you're like, yes, here's what's going on with me. I need some help getting this fixed. And they will sit you down and walk you through and get you some help. But I just wanted to share that so you're not standing in line waiting for a teller who's going to go, oh, you need to talk to those people.
absolutely, that's good information and good advice. And they can help you with a number of things. One of the things that's happened now that's increased internet security, and we all, I think, find it a nuisance, but if you ever need it, you're very grateful that you have it, is that two-factor authentication, right? So having your online account set up that you have to have that app that confirms who you are, or like hit that number, enter in the thing that gets sent to your cell phone, right? We want to make sure we have that, but you can also set up authentication for some banks, right? They have a setup where they make sure that it's you, and there's extra layers of protection. Maybe you ask that person what you can do, right? That person at the bank, how do I make sure that this doesn't happen to me again, or that nobody hacks my account? And they'll probably help you set up like a single transaction alert that if there is a transaction on your card, and especially if it's a large transaction, it's going to notify you, and they'll ask you, did you make this purchase, right? That's same for credit cards. And so you can catch it early. If somebody withdraws money from an ATM with your account number and your PIN, you can get a withdrawal alert, right? Profile change alerts, debit card use alerts, or unusual activity alerts, right? And a low balance alert. There's all sorts of alerts that you can set up on your accounts now that tell you, hey, something's going on. And it's just the one time, every single time that's there. If there's a large purchase, if I didn't make that large purchase, I want that alert so that I can immediately inform the authorities.
Yeah. And, another idea too is, we think about the big banks, Bank of America or Regions, but something you might want to think about, if you are starting over, is maybe a local bank or even a credit union, because they're so much smaller. That's where you go all the time, and they get to know you as a person, where nobody knows me at my bank because I use one of the big banks, but in the case of trying to restart your life again, that might be a good option, or at least even if you're using one of the bigger banks, to consistently use the same branch. So you get a personal relationship with the people there. And they know you, they recognize you, you've made friends with them, or a good friendly business relationship. And then they know, oh, when she comes in and she's upset, something's going on, we know her. And like we've heard from Chelsea, that's the same for a fiduciary who is your financial advisor. They will do those same things for you with money that you use through them. What's the right term for that? You know what I'm saying.
Invest with them or have an account with, right? This idea, it's very true. If we're working with money, right, we need to have your interests first, right? It's your money. We want to make sure you're taken care of. And sometimes, if you get upset or something's going on and you're taking more money, and we'll say, hey, what's going on here? Like talk it out with me a little bit, and help people figure out what's going on. And that can be, I had a client call in here at the end of the week who said, I keep having this person contact me who is saying that I can't take out small distributions from my 401k. I have to move it all to them as an IRA and then take things out as lump sums. And I said, that's a fraud. Like that is untrue. You can take regular distributions after retirement from your 401k without penalty. Somebody, right, if depending on how manipulative your ex is, right, the person your abuser, the person you just left, they could be hiring people or giving people your number and saying, like, try and get their money and you can get a cut. That's not impossible for it to happen. That's not even a huge stretch of the imagination if the person is toxic enough. So thinking about that, she says, I'm so glad that I told them, no, I'm going to talk to my financial advisor about this, and I would move my account over there if I had to move it, right? So getting advice from us before making a decision saved her, most likely, her entire retirement. That's one of the things as fiduciaries we're here for, and we can protect you.
I'd say that's another, just like I was mentioning credit unions, Chelsea doesn't work for a huge multinational organization. They're a smaller firm and they know all of their people. And that's great, because if somebody calls me up and they're not on my team, because, I would get to know everybody that Chelsea works with. And somebody calls up and says, hey, we're from whatever. You're like, wait a minute. No, Chelsea's never introduced me to you. You're not somebody on my team. And it can be just another layer to protect yourself, because it's tough when you get a phone call from Visa. Visa is so big. How do you know if it's really them? And personally, I never take any of those calls. When they offer me something, I hang up and then I call Visa and say, hey, I just got a call. Is this going on? And 100% of the time so far, they've said, no, that wasn't us. So, yeah, it could be your spouse that's doing that to try to create more difficulty for you. But yeah, I'm sorry, I jumped right in there and started going.
No, that's great. And I think I'm glad you're jumping in. I could sit over here and lecture and lecture and lecture. It's supposed to be a conversation. So yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And the other thing is, depending on how big of a hit you took, right, you may want a mentor, and say you don't feel like, okay, I'm not to the spot where I feel like I can really work with a financial planner right now. I don't have the assets. I want to take time to build things up. A lot of financial advisors have big networks within their own communities. I know that we have a network of people, and you could still come talk to me or your financial advisor or somebody and say, hey, how do you suggest I get help with rebuilding? And we have references. We may refer you out to a financial coach who helps you get all of the bases met so you can rebuild your life and have somebody who regularly meets with you, regularly works with you to hold you accountable to do the things that will get you to a better spot financially in your life. And then when that financial coach feels like you've got it, they'll send you back to us to say, hey, I think you're ready to invest now. You've got this really firm foundation. So you do have a lot of options in terms of who to go to. You just might not know. And so going to a financial planner, a financial advisor, just for that information to start is valuable because we can help you.
Hey, Chelsea, I know we did it in the other episode, but in case people have no idea how to connect or who to connect to for a financial advisor, can we put your website in the chat?
Yes, and I also have, I'll drop this in really quick while we're talking about financial advisors and building things up. My coworker Jessica Brooks and I, both financial advisors for Stratus Wealth Partners, we did a live webinar on like smart women and their money, like how do women become smarter with their money? How do you save? How do you build up? So I'll drop that in the chat as well. And you can go view it on our business pages. So that would be there. I will go ahead and drop the link as well.
I'm going to put it over on, I will own an error I did. I didn't put the link out there for Zoom for everybody. So we're going to put these links in the Facebook Live. All I have to do is figure out how to copy and paste it from one to the other.
There you go. Well, both of those are spaces to start. And well, this is the other thing is you want to find somebody who's a good fit for you, right? This is part of finding an ally. It's a big step to, becoming financially healthy, getting back on your feet is finding somebody that you click with, that you feel you can trust and build a relationship with. And I don't know a financial advisor that's not going to sit down with you and make sure that you're a good fit within the business, that you are going to feel comfortable and taken care of as a client, and that we can meet your needs. And if we don't meet your needs or have, exactly what you're looking for, we will probably have some other financial advisors that we could suggest you go talk to and see if they're a better fit, if you can build a better relationship with them, because we understand that, right, we have multiple different personalities in this world, that some work better with others and maybe communicate in a way that they understand or that works for them in terms of their plans. So certainly we're a place to start. And, you can definitely go to your local financial advisors to get this information as well.
So let's see, so far we've got is, of course, the first thing you want to do is get out, make sure you have your essentials, have a place to go, whether it's a family member or a women's shelter, a girlfriend's house, somebody where you're not sleeping in your car or on the sidewalk, especially if you have children with you, right? You want to make sure that you have your survival essentials available, that you have food, you're not out in 20-degree weather, that you have a place to sleep and eat and bathe and whatever you need to do that way. You want to look at your credit, call your bank, let them know what's going on so that anything that is happening, they can, even if they may not be able to stop it, because maybe you're in a state where the husband and wife have, I can't think of what it's called, but they can both access the account, whether you ask them to or whether you allow it or not. So at least that way, when you contact your bank, they will now know what's going on and can begin monitoring it and help you as you open a new account that is only for you, that no one else can access. You want to check your credit. And we talked about going to, what was it, creditkarma.com? Is that right?
Yeah, that
Uh,
seems to be one. We don't endorse necessarily any individual one, but there are multiple, and Credit Karma does tend to be one of them.
yeah,
So
yeah. So, get online, just Google, where can I get my free credit report from all three credit reporting agencies? And while you're at the bank, okay, so I'm kind of jumping back and forth, but while at the bank, start your new account, your own savings account, your own checking account. Then get online, look at your social media, because you may not have thought about your social media as part of your financial safety. But when you realize that any employer or any potential employer is going to check out your social media, they're going to look at your Facebook, they're going to look at your Instagram, and they're going to see what you're posting or what they believe you are posting, because your abusive ex maybe posting terrible stuff on there, even maybe explicit images. And of course, an employer is going to look at that and go, no, we're not hiring you. But if you can stop those social media accounts, start new ones. And even if, because, once it's on the internet, it's on the internet forever. When you're applying for those jobs, you can say, if you're going to look at my social media, guess what? I just got out of a bad relationship with somebody who's abusive. They were putting stuff on my accounts that was not me. These are my new accounts. Please, if you see something on there that looks inappropriate or wrong, I'd very much appreciate you checking with me, because those are the kind of things he was doing. So yes, your social media is also about your financial stability, because of your social media accounts' ability to affect whether or not you can get a job or where you can get a job.
absolutely. And I think too, just to add to that, I don't think I mentioned that there are domestic abuse coalitions in a lot of different states. And if you Google that, if you figure out where that coalition is, they're there to offer you assistance in getting back into the workforce, in connecting people who have similar experiences, so you can get the support you need from people who have experienced what you've experienced. And that's really important. But the getting back into the workforce, right? Getting into somebody who can help you rebuild when you're struggling to get a job because of what's happened. If something's already happened that, with your social media posts, or that you got fired from your last job and your boss won't give you a good recommendation, here's how we can help you work through that. And those domestic abuse coalitions have people on staff who can help you with that. So that's part of that too, in terms of securing things. If you feel overwhelmed in that, there are people to help you with that for free, right? It's free to you. They're there to help you get back on your feet.
Oh yeah, there's so many advocates. I mean, don't let it hurt your brain if this stuff that we're talking about seems like so much. What we want to do is make you aware of it, so that it's in your head and you can go, oh yeah, I remember hearing that. But yeah, if you go to a women's shelter, they're going to have so many resources for you. And a lot of times they even have resources to help you get back to work with people that understand the challenges that women have faced in abusive relationships. So there are a lot of resources out there for you to help you get going again, to keep yourself safe and to keep your children safe, and to get you going again,
Absolutely.
so you can get back to a normal life where someone is not controlling or being awful to you.
And I know that it can be very difficult to admit for so many of us who have taken care of ourselves for so long and gotten ourselves out of abusive situations, to think I need help or I can ask somebody for help. But I would say don't be afraid to, because that really will help speed you along on your journey to recovery. You won't regret it. And I know how people feel about like federal benefit programs. Some people are just absolutely against using them. But in cases like what we're talking, if it is, heaven forbid, the worst case scenario, there are federal programs that help you pay for your family's groceries. If you've got kids, you need to feed them. You can get assistance with health care for those kids, for yourself, for housing. There's programs like the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, TANF, right? That is federal, that offers benefits like childcare and job training. So if you can't get a job, going through TANF and getting some job training, right? Getting specialized or a certificate in something so that you can go out in the workforce and not have to worry about your children, because there's childcare. There's a space for those kids to be safe, where you know that nobody but you as or trusted ally is going to be able to check those kids out of that childcare, right? That's an extra layer of protection. You don't have to feel like, what happens when my ex comes and takes my kids without my knowing because I'm at work or I'm at training. Those are really important programs, and people who need them should use them, right? We want to make sure that people who need them have access to them. And that's one of the reasons there are federal programs for that.
Yeah. Don't be so proud that you're afraid to get help your family needs. I remember when I was a child, there were plenty of times that, I grew up very poor. And although my family was embarrassed that we were using the food stamp program, it gave us food until my mom could find enough work so that we were paying for it for ourselves. Yeah, it's not fun. It doesn't make you feel good, that you need that kind of help, but it is there for you. Use it for what it's meant for, to get you through a place where you're challenged financially, and then rise above it. Take every opportunity there is, because there are a lot of opportunities and resources that can help you.
And there's the sense too, right? That we are talking about this and people think, oh yeah, I'll be on my feet in a couple months. But depending on the debt that your or your spouse or significant other had put on your name, you might be in this for the long haul, right? You might be in this for a couple years. So utilizing those programs will help you get through it easier, so you don't just feel crushed and consistently having to restart. You've got a plan to tackle that debt, because you have your base. Again, just keep coming back to make sure you have your base.
Yeah, keep using them. Use every resource you can. That's why our taxpayers pay for them, so that they're there and available for the people that are in need. Something I mentioned to Chelsea before. Chelsea, remember I was talking about rebuilding credit scores?
Yes.
The thing I talked about, was that a reasonable thing to do? And okay, I guess I should share what I talked about, right?
Yeah, you can go ahead and share.
Hey, thanks for letting me share. Are you taking over my show?
I mean, clearly.
I would do better. One of the things that I learned when I was a teen was, going from teenager to adult, it's nice to have some credit established. But a lot of times a bank doesn't want to loan you money, or, you may not be able to get a credit card unless it has a 26% interest rate, which is bad. And so one of the things that I had suggested to me, which I did, was I went to my local bank, I had a savings account, and I borrowed, I don't remember how much it was, a couple $100. And what I told them was, I'm trying to build my credit. So I want to borrow this $300 or $500 or whatever it was. I'm going to put it in my savings account, and I'm not going to spend it. And I will just pay it back to you. And you can even pay it back out of the very same savings account. But what that does is it gives the credit reporting agency something to look at, and that bank that you're using, that says, oh, they take care of their money. They can take out a loan and they can pay it back, and they do it on time. And that's very good for building your credit or rebuilding your credit.
Yeah, absolutely. There are multiple ways to build credit. Like you said, you have your experience with that one. The other one is there are programs, I think Experian Boost is one of them, that essentially allows you to add the bills you pay regularly, including your utilities, your subscriptions, your cell phone, right? Anything you're paying monthly to show that you can make those monthly payments, it will help raise your credit score. So looking at that and saying, I need to help raising that credit score so I can get the better interest rates when I do need to take out a loan for a car or my new home, right? Something that is a bigger purchase, or even just I want a lower interest rate on a credit card. Having proof through that program that you can pay your bills regularly helps build your credit score. And the other thing that you can do that might be worth looking into is if you have a lot of credit card debt across many different forums, there are balance transfer credit cards out there, and they help you essentially consolidate debt, manage your payments. And so essentially across that debt on your credit card balances, you can move it to a single card. And some of these, like, I don't know that all of them do, but many of them have 0% interest for a number of months. So if that is something that can help you, because then you're not having that, 5 alarm fire interest, which if you're 20%, I mean, even 15%, right? These higher interest rates, that's an emergency, right? That's a 5 alarm fire that needs to be put out to help you get back to the base for your finances. So you can go ahead and pay monthly payments on that, and it looks better because everything's consolidated, and it helps you rebuild your credit.
So you probably didn't learn that in school, and you may not learn it from your neighbor or your mom or your dad. So, there's just another reason to find yourself a financial professional like Chelsea, or, if you've got somebody, your bank, a lot of times they'll have an advisor that you can work with, and you can learn about tactics like that to help you rebuild. Because guess what? Every bank wants you to be successful. If you're successful, you're a good customer for them, so they want you to be financially successful. And if you ask for help, more often than not, they are happy to do it. Chelsea, we're at 45 minutes. Is there anything else you want to put in there? And I did put the links that you gave for the webinar that you did, and for the webinar you and your partner did, and for Wealth Stratos, or Stratos Wealth Partners. Wow, I said it backwards, didn't I? But yeah, you can go on there, everybody. Look on it, even if you don't live in Utah. I'm in Utah, Chelsea's in Utah. You can still reach out to her, and she can help you. And if it ends up you're in a state that she's not licensed for, she can connect you with somebody that is. But generally, the financial advice is going to be the same, of how to take care of your money and how to grow what you have. And that's an important thing we haven't touched on much, because it's going to be kind of above most of our heads for what we're talking about here. We're talking about getting back on your feet, having some form of income, being able to put a little bit of money aside. And after that, there are a whole bunch of ways that you can build your money, and you can build it faster, and you can build it with a little risk or a lot of risk or no risk. But that's where you need to speak to a professional to help you rebuild that nest egg with the least risk possible for you, while figuring out the way to get the most back for you. So do take advantage of that. Reach out to Chelsea. She'll help you. If she can't, she will find the person that can. And that's just the kind of person she is. So yeah, I'm happy to know her.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm happy to know you too. And Cranford, in terms of talking about, that down the road, we haven't talked a lot about investments or building up a portfolio, anything like that, just for the reasons you stated. But that Facebook Live that we did, Savvy Women, Smart Investors, I think is the title, that when you get where you're feeling like, I might want to know a little more, that webinar is the next step, or rather, that Facebook Live is the next step in thinking about building yourself up financially. And we can definitely give you more information if you're interested, and, give us a call. But the other thing I would say is that educating yourself on the basics of the stock market and how it works, and what it is that you're comfortable with, right, in terms of risk. We use a risk number system. So from 0, which is like under the mattress, to 99, which is Tesla, right? You're going to have a number somewhere in there that says, okay, this is my number that I'm comfortable with. And I think 75 is about where the S&P 500 index for stocks sit. So you could be right in line with what the index tracks, but some people are way, way lower and more conservative. They don't want to take very much risk. And some people are way higher on that, right? And they're willing to be a little bit more risky with their money. You knowing where you're at can give you a starting point to then find or ask questions to figure out what's suitable for you, what your suitable next steps are. And that's where a financial advisor can help you.
And maybe even more importantly, if you don't know where you are at, and as far as risk, and I'm not an advisor, but let's see if I've got this right, Chelsea. If you don't know how risky you should be with your investments, talk to an advisor, please. Because when you lose it, you lose it. It's better to gain slowly than to try to, jump and get a whole lot when you're trying to rebuild. You don't have much to work with. So you need to be, in the beginning, when you're trying to rebuild, like what we're talking about, you may not have much at all. But is there a way that you could invest $5 a month? Maybe. It doesn't have to be a start of $10,000, but that's what you learn from somebody who's going to look out for your money for you. Because again, a professional like Chelsea and her company, they want you to be successful. That's the proof of their business success, is that they made you successful. So
exactly. And I think that is why, right, our first, as a financial advisor, right, my general, not specific, but general advice is that if you are rebuilding, definitely rebuild. Start at the bank, right? Start getting that emergency fund together. Start getting that rainy day fund, right, together, and having a really nice foundation so that when you get ready to invest, you can put money in the stock market and never have to worry about needing to take it out, because you have everything else there. So your portfolio doesn't become an emergency fund. It becomes exactly what it's meant to be, which is a way for you to build wealth.
Awesome. Hey, we don't have anybody on live with us right now, so we're not going to get any questions. So I just want to say, I so appreciate you. And everybody, when I mentioned to Chelsea, we were having lunch and I talked about that I want to start interviewing people, for the FemVincible morning chat, Saturday morning chat, which is about to be FemVincible podcast. She jumped right in. She's like, hey, can I help? Because she knows the experience of women who have been through abusive relationships and have had financial challenges. So I just want to say thank you so much to you, Chelsea, for, just taking the time to do, 3 whole episodes with us to share your story. It takes courage and guts to be vulnerable, sharing a story about, past abuse. And I just appreciate you so much for being there for everybody that's listening to us and everybody that sees this in the future, as a way to help them know they can be okay. They can come back. It might be a little bit of a slow road, but it is possible.
Well, thank you again for allowing me to come on and be your first guest for 3 episodes. And I look forward to, seeing how your company grows and how you continue to help people, because that's just a very inspiring and great thing. So I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of it.
Thank you. Am I gushing? Am I blushing? Well, all right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and end it for today, which means I have to go ahead and find my button, either that or while I'm talking, or I stop talking and start looking for my button. There it is. So yeah, thanks for being here. Be sure to share this. Make sure that, people get that link that's on the live that goes to the webinar or the recorded Facebook Live that Chelsea and her partner did, because it's going to answer a whole lot of your questions before you ever even need to call her up or whoever you're using for a financial advisor. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of answers for you right there. So do that, share it, because remember, a lot of women that are in abusive relationships don't even know it because there's not physical abuse happening. So share with them, help them see that maybe there's a better way for them to be not in their relationship, but in their life, by adjusting their relationship, or if they need to, getting out of that relationship. So thanks everybody for being here. I appreciate it so much that you connect with me on Saturday morning to see what I have to share and what my guests are going to have to share. And if you've got something you would like to hear about, that you would like me to find an expert on and bring them on, just let me know. Put it in the comments, send me a DM, send me an email, and I'll see what I can find, because this show is for you. All right. So thank you very much for being here. I appreciate all of you so much. Take care and be safe. Bye-bye. This has been a production of LabCalf LLC and FemVincible.com.